What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast with real stories, real people, and real impact. My name's Stephen Turnbull. I'm an entrepreneur, husband, and father on a mission to empower individuals to share their stories so they can make an impact on you. We've got Ross Kerska in the house today. What an incredible story. Originally from Wisconsin, moved to the central New York area for a job, realtor, real estate investor, talks about the early days of moving here without knowing anybody, and fast forward to what he is today in his career, administration in a nursing home. Just a great all-around story about hard work, action, and doing the right thing. You're going to really enjoy this. Thanks again for being here. Let's get into today's episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast. Ross Kerska is in the house today. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
How are you today?
Never better. How are you?
Best day of my life. Dan Williams was on 6 episodes ago, whatever. And I asked him that. I said, I'm stealing that.
Okay.
Every day is the best day of my life. Hey, we're on this side of the dirt. We had vehicles that got us here. We go home with a roof over our head. What more do we want? We want to talk about what more I want. Life will be here a little longer, so we're going to move right on. I'm excited for this. I'll tell you why. I know Ross, but I don't know Ross.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair to say.
We go to the same gym. We have some similar friends and just kind of have met each other through there. But I'm excited to learn all about Ross today. So tell us, who's Ross?
Ross Kerska. I'm the administrator of the Pines of Utica, South Utica. Realtor, Coldwell Banker Prime Properties. Closed on a deal this morning, which I know you were a part of today. So we'll get into that. Real estate investor. I've been doing that for a little while now. Started that during the pandemic, during COVID. But born and raised home in Wisconsin. Midwestern guy. Not a lot of people know that about me.
Green Bay fan probably, huh?
Green Bay fan, yeah. Rough on Monday. But are you a Giants guy?
No, I'm a Patriots guy.
Okay. Oh, they got tonight, right?
Patriots. Yes, we do.
I'll try to wrap this up then.
I'm trying to make sure I can just stay up.
I'll try not to be too long-winded then so you can get to watching the game. But, from the Midwest. Amazing childhood. I got amazing parents, great family support. Was very fortunate with that. I started my collegiate career at UW Milwaukee. Didn't last long there. I ended up at Winona State University. Got my bachelor's degree in human resource management, business admin, and started working at Mayo Clinic, one of the best hospitals in the country. Got my start there. I was an unpaid intern. That's how I started in healthcare. And after about a year, after I graduated, I took a full-time job there, full-time position. And about a year in, I realized, time for some change. Wanted to do something a little bit different, and came out to New York. And like any Midwesterner, I thought New York, everything's New York City. Mm-hmm. It's not the case.
Yep.
Far from in Utica, but here we are.
So tell me about that. So was it like an online job or something you saw posted? They recruit you. And then you're like Utica, and you're looking up on Google Maps. Where the hell is this place?
So funny story. It's big on connections. I mean, it's all about who you know, right? And a girl I went to high school with, her mom worked for a company in Minneapolis that did nursing homes, and that's what I wanted to do. I decided I wanted to do that, get into that field. And she reached out and she said, you should come, check out these opportunities in Minneapolis. And, I just started at Mayo, didn't want to burn any bridges. 7 months later, I reached out to her and said, I'm looking for a change. And she said, perfect. We got something. I work for National Healthcare out of New York. And, here we come. Actually, it's to the day, November 13th, 2015 was the first time I came to New York.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So that was when you started the job?
That's when I came out. I was interviewed. Started on February 1st, 2016.
So you've been in the role for 10 years?
10 years,
wow.
Yeah. I started as the assistant administrator at the Pines in Catskill, small town Catskill.
Yeah.
I was there for 2.5 years, had to do an administrator and training program. Had one of the best mentors. I think that was a really key part of my journey, is having just an incredible mentor to get me going in the business. I mean, when I started, I knew nothing. I was just terrible.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I had somebody who really looked out for me and really put me in a position to be successful.
That's the ultimate hack that nobody. Let me rephrase that. Not nobody. A lot of people overlook mentorship, and the number one reason is people are afraid to ask for help.
100%.
Afraid to pick up the phone. I have a guy in Syracuse that owns an agency, and him and I this is a good story. When I started doing video content in 2017, no lie, when I was working at my family's agency, I did a series called Turnbull TV. Right. And they were like 2 to 3 minute videos. They took me about 2 to 3 hours to record because I was so anal. My hair was off here. I wasn't sitting this way. Redo it. All this. This is a true story. Didn't even have a tripod. I stacked tissue boxes from the break room and put my phone positioned just right so that it was right in front of the desk. And I sat there all professional, made sure I sat upright, talked. But when I started doing that, I posted my first video on LinkedIn. And this guy in Syracuse he owns Crowley Insurance Agency, and he did a series, Crowley 101. He recorded 101 videos, 101 days straight, Saturdays, Sundays, and did like a little challenge around that. And he reached out to me and said, hey, man, love the video. Like, keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Long-winded story, but I'll end it playing in a second. I said, hey, you're just in Syracuse. Would you ever get lunch with me? Yeah, absolutely. Him and I are like best friends right now in the industry 8 years later. And he has been a pivotal person in my journey of, am I going to go off on my own? What does it look like? Who do I need to talk to? What happens with this? I call him every day.
Sure, absolutely.
But the mentorship, and it doesn't even have to be in business, in life in general.
Yeah.
With any goals or whatever, that is key. Like, why would you not? It's such a hack. Why would you not talk to somebody who is where you want to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people are afraid. Like you said, I think a lot of people feel stupid, right? And I think 9 times out of 10, if I had to guess, that person you're reaching out to would love to share that information
because they've been where you are.
Absolutely,
because they've been where you are.
Absolutely, and I think in my specific case, my boss had just operated some incredible nursing homes, opened up a bunch, ran an 800-bed facility in Pittsburgh. Was the VP of operations for a company. All these things, right? And she could have retired, but she said, hey, I'll stick around. I'll help this young kid out, right? You could tell I didn't know a lot, but the enthusiasm, right? Yeah. Wanted to do it, wanted to be there. Yeah. And, still to this day, talk to her all the time. Yeah. Still very, very close. And I think it's one of those things where you build that rapport with people and they, you work hard and, make them proud. Mm-hmm.
You brushed over something I want to dive into deeper about. I was in the medical field. I was going through the motions. I had this job and then decided like nursing homes is where I wanted to be. Why?
Yeah. So funny enough, I struggled in school. I was on academic probation and I don't really love talking about that. It's a little embarrassing, but I was on academic probation.
But it's part of your story, right?
Part of my story.
Makes two of us, baby. I don't know if I was ever on academic probation.
Yeah, you're good?
No, please.
Okay.
Please.
Guy,
this guy, honor roll guy over here. Don't, no. Please.
Yeah, I was.
He's sorry about that. He's sorry about that, Mike.
Yeah. So I was on academic probation, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do, right? And I'm one of those people where once I kind of get locked in on something, I'm dialed in, right? And, I remember I got the letter. It was sitting on our kitchen table when I got home. My parents had got the letter, and of course they opened it before, right? It said academic probation. I was embarrassed, and I was like, all right, I got to turn this around, right? I got to figure this out. And I knew I wanted to get into healthcare, but I knew I'm not a clinician, right? And I tip my hat to anybody who is, but if you guys go down right now, like I can't help you.
That's
right?
good to know.
But I
call
knew
my wife if that happens, Mike, or your wife.
Call somebody. Yeah, I'll call you somebody, but it's not going to be me helping you. But I knew I wanted to get into healthcare, right? And so I looked at what are my avenues, right? And get into the operations side, the business side. I like finance. I like the operational piece. And right away, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the CEO of a hospital, right? That's what I said. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. Done. And I went to career planning, and they were like, okay, lofty goal, right? Most CEOs have to be an MD, a doctor. Yeah. So maybe, try something else. I'm like, okay, I got to go a different path, right? And I got into human resources, got into, that side, just got my foot in the door. I did an unpaid internship. I applied for 60 jobs, throughout college and was trying to get in somewhere, right? Didn't have the grades, didn't have much experience. I worked at FedEx. And finally I said, I'll do an unpaid internship for the summer. Just want the experience, right? Just whatever you want me to do, I'll do it for free. I'm not asking for a paycheck. I'm just trying to get my foot in the door. And, after that, they're like, hey, this guy worked pretty hard for free, right? After I graduated, they put me in a position. I was an HR assistant. And I kind of looked around like, what's the next step, right? And I knew it took a little while to climb the ladder in a hospital setting. I thought, okay, what's the way to get, move up a little bit quicker? And found out about nursing home administration. I knew somebody who did it. It wasn't really close with them, but I knew of the role. And I said, okay, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And when the opportunity came up in New York, it's like, I always thought I was going to move to the West Coast. California sun. That ended up.
Well, we got plenty of sun here in Utica. I don't know what you're talking about.
Ended up on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't care where it was. Wherever that opportunity was going to happen, I was going and I was going to make it happen. I was very confident that that's what I wanted to do, and it took some time to get there. But
would you say the night that your parents were opening the letter was a pivotal moment in your life?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was one of those pieces where my parents gave me every opportunity to be successful. I mean, my parents were very supportive, gave me all the guidance, everything in the world. And a lot of people don't have the opportunity to go to college. They don't have the opportunity to do some of the things that I did, and to squander those opportunities. I mean, what a slap in the face, right? It took, it was an embarrassing moment for me. It was one of those moments where it's like, all right, kind of got to grow up a little bit here,
yeah.
Right? I can't, be out partying Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sundays,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
every week, right? And like now it's time to grow up a little bit.
I'm gonna challenge you on something though. Twice now you said that's an embarrassing moment.
Sure.
Maybe it was at the time, but looking back, it's part of your story and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into the real estate stuff
and
moving halfway across the country to take this role because you knew that opportunity would better you and what your goal was going to be. So I would challenge you on that it might have been embarrassing at the time, but those experiences are what make who we are.
Absolutely.
Right. If I never took the bold step to leave my family business where I was planning to be the rest of my life, I wouldn't have made the connections that I would have made. I wouldn't have been my own business owner as soon as I am. I wouldn't have had insert here. And those struggles, if you want to call them road bumps throughout life, are what develop us who we are today, tomorrow, the next day.
Very true. Very true. I think that's it's a motivator right there. I took those moments as, all right, time to go.
Yeah.
Right. It's time to, put yourself in a position to be successful. And at that point, then I really dialed in. I knew what I wanted to do, and it was game on. Right. Schoolwork was good. I turned those grades around, right? I looked at what I needed to do, all the paperwork and the programs and all these things. I knew exactly what had to be done. And at that point, it's like, all right, it's time to make this thing happen.
You talked about when you get on something, you're on it. Where does that come from?
I think maybe just the competitiveness. I think sports growing up, you kind of lock into something, right? Always competitive, wanted to be the best in certain things, in certain aspects of life. And, once I kind of get hooked on something, it's just personality-wise.
Yeah.
Always try to just do my best at it.
Yeah.
Right? I think if you're going to do something, might as well just give it a go and make the most of it.
Talk to me about moving out to New York. I want to go back to that real quick before we pivot. Cause I was talking actually before we recorded about a friend of mine who has an agency in Long Island, and we joke all the time. We've started this insurance podcast and we've grown a great community. And it's like, everyone's like, oh, you guys get to lunch all the time? You guys go out all the time together? And it's like, no, we're like 6 hours away. Like people outside of New York don't realize there's more of us up here. There's a few cows, there's some farmland, but talk to us about that experience of moving here, not knowing anybody, for that opportunity and what that looked like.
Sure. Yeah, that was something. It was in the middle of winter, not the best time to come to New York in general. I knew two people I had a cousin that went to West Point, left maybe 2 months after I got to New York. I knew a girl I went to high school with, lived in New York City, left a couple months after I got to New York. So I really didn't know anybody. And came out, middle of winter. I remember I went to Niagara Falls sometime in January. I was the only one there. Not a good time to go. But came out here. I just loaded up a car, and that was it. I had a blow-up mattress, deflated my first night in New York. I was sleeping on a hardwood floor, thinking, man, this is it, right? And early on, I just like anybody else probably would be, homesick, right? Not sure I could do it, right? Overwhelmed in a new position, right? New position. Didn't have any friends, didn't know anybody, didn't have any family support, local. But, that's where I kind of leaned on my family and friends back home. My parents were like, you'll figure it out. That's what you wanted to do, right? You did it. So, knock it off and make it happen.
Right.
But I think that allowed me the opportunity to really dive into perfecting the craft. I wanted to learn every regulation in the nursing home world, right?
Yeah.
Evenings, weekends, I was studying for the exam. I was trying to learn how to, be the best operator I could be, so that when the time came, I could go to any building and be successful. So, but it also led into other things where, the real estate, I kind of got interested in that, started reading about it a little bit. It wasn't until later on that I kind of dove into that, but just opened up some other, avenues of some hobbies and things like that.
See, I think it's a cool story because Like a career change is a big scary thing.
Yeah. Yeah. For
On
sure.
top of moving to a different state, on top of not knowing anybody, you know, Fridays and Saturday nights, the first couple of weeks, maybe you didn't know anybody, you're by yourself, all that stuff. Like, let's dive a little deeper in that. Like,
Sure.
we talk about a lot naturally on the podcast of entrepreneurship. And I think about it like I started a business in my hometown. All my family and friends were around. I had a great support system, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I ever had to do a scary move like that totally alone, I can't imagine it. You talk about entrepreneurship is lonely, change is lonely, whatever it might be. For you, it was.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally,
Yeah.
insert everything else here.
Yeah.
How'd you navigate that?
Yeah, I think that was a very kind of bizarre time. I was used to, you know, living back in my hometown after I graduated. Had some roommates, great roommates. We had a lot of fun. Had a lot of friends in the area. You go from that, right? You know, Friday night, you're not doing anything. Oh, you know, you can call a couple people, hang out, whatever. Didn't have that, right? And kind of led me to, it's like, all right, you got to start being comfortable doing things on your own, right? Go down to the city by myself, right, for a weekend, you know, go do some sightseeing. I'd never really been to the East Coast, so, you know, start doing some trips, some day trips and, you know, doing all that. But I think you really kind of have to lean on yourself a little bit and, you know, kind of put yourself in a position where it's, you know, you're not feeling sorry for yourself. You're not, you know, day after day, you know, feeling bad about how, oh, I wish I could have been doing this. You know, there's a lot of things I missed out on. A lot of things that I look back and say, you know, I wish I could have been there for that person's birthday party or that person's whatever.
Yeah.
But I knew what the end goal was. I knew what I wanted to do. And at that point, it was like, you know, burn the boats, right? I'm not going back. I'm going to see this through. I'm going to figure out how to make this happen, whatever that looks like.
What is the end goal?
Still be the CEO of a hospital.
Love it.
You know, regardless of, you know, I know, again, like I said, a lot of places require you to be an MD, not all. And if that changes, or next best thing, you know. I'll
So
find something else.
here's what you have, and I can see it right there. You have a very healthy chip on your shoulder.
Yes. Yeah. Say that's
I forgot about this. I was fired up yesterday. I was at the office by myself. Jasmine, who's the only one, and we have 3 people, including me. She was out on lunch. And it's funny, circle back. I talk about the tissue box day doing a video. I just pulled out my phone and started screaming at the camera. And I'm sitting here right now recording this. I never posted it. I got to post it later. But I talked about the best thing that ever happened in my life was somebody telling me that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I'll leave their name out of it. They know who they are. They don't watch this. I'm very sure of it. But
wait, people don't watch
telling
this?
me that particular person.
Okay.
Yeah. There's millions of viewers out there besides that. But
Amen.
I literally, it's on my phone right now, about people, everybody in their life at some point has had, even if it's not direct of Ross, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, that's challenging. Go get a state job.
Yeah, sure.
That's challenging. Go get an easy job where you have a pension, whatever it be. And I talked in this 60-second video, more or less yelled, which I'll post shortly, of you can take all those advice from people and make it your own. But if you believe that you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
CEO of a hospital, why?
I just want to be in a position to help people. You know, I think ultimately people get into careers for money, right? I think that ultimately, you know, you got to put yourself in a position where you can provide for your family and things like that. But I think, you know, I wanted to do something where you can make money, but also impact people, right? You know, you see that in healthcare facilities. And I think it's one of those opportunities where you can really help somebody. And it's such a genuinely good feeling to see that and to see some of the miracles in healthcare and be a part of that every day. I mean, you know, that's pretty cool.
So talk to me about that healthy chip, though. And I know I'm putting you on the spot by this, but this is why we're here.
Yeah,
because I got a few of them actually. They're mostly on my right side, which is why I'm like this a little bit.
Listen, I tip my hat to you to say, listen, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to start my own thing. I think that, you know, that takes a lot to do that, right? That's so impressive to me when people do that and say, you know, it's much easier to do this, much easier to take this path, and you say to yourself, I'm going to make that happen, right? So I tip my cap to you on that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's ultimately a lot of pressure on myself. You know, I think that I've always put a lot of pressure on myself to just be the best version of myself, right? I want to keep pushing, keep trying to do better, because ultimately, The goal is to help people, right? The goal is to help as many people as possible, and put myself in a position where I'm able to do that.
What would you say to the person listening to this that wanted to start that business, wanted to pivot careers, wanted to move out west to be a surf instructor, and mom and dad say, I don't know, Benny, I don't know about that, and I go back to the loved ones, our friends and family who give us advice that we go to when we need advice, and the balance of I'm going to do the damn thing versus I'm going to listen to mom and dad because they're my mom and dad and that's what they told me to do. What do you tell those people?
Bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. There's no plan B, right? If you're that dialed into plan A, you're going to make it work, right? No matter what that is, you're going to make that work. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you should have a plan B. You should, think about this or whatever. And sure, maybe have it, think about it and push it to the side to say, I'm going to make this happen, whatever that takes, right? May not happen overnight. Maybe a long journey for you. You may have to start from scratch again and rebuild and regroup. But at the end of the day, if you're that dialed in to make it happen, you will make it happen.
I love it.
Yeah.
So administrator of the Pines.
Yes.
You're busy enough, I assume.
You're also
a realtor. You have rental properties of your own.
I do.
Talk to us about that.
So I started during COVID, actually. I got my first property. I had always wanted to get into real estate, and I knew that was something that would come with, kind of doing the nursing home thing. I could do that on the side. And just like anybody else, you want to get into it, but I was hesitant, right? Just hadn't done it before. I bought my first property during COVID, right? In the midst of the pandemic, $70,000. I was terrified.
Love it.
I was just absolutely terrified. And I had said, it was a fixer-upper, right? And my parents were like, oh, well, we can come out, we can help you. Pandemic hits, there goes my help, right? I'm on my own.
Yeah.
But the first one, I bought it, flipped it, which I never should have done. I'm still kicking myself for selling that house. But I sold that, and after that, I was hooked. Learned a lot. I learned that you have to pay taxes when you sell houses. I learned that there's a lot more work in fixing houses than anticipated. I learned that I'm not very handy, but I learned that at the end of the day, you can make money with it, right? Fast forward, I have now 9 units. Have kind of built up a little bit of a portfolio there. Just put an offer in today, actually. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Can get that one under contract. But I got my license 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Was really just interested in kind of learning the lingo, right? I had gone to the closing table before on some of the houses that I closed on and didn't know what they were talking about and felt like there was a lot to learn in the real estate game. And I felt if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to take this seriously and try to build up, a portfolio and try to, make, some money on that, I should probably learn a little bit about it. So I took the course. I had sat on it for probably a year, and somebody was finally like, why don't you just take the class and get your license so you can buy your own houses? And I was like, I've already done that.
Yeah.
I've taken the course. And so I got my license really just to buy properties for myself selfishly. I know it sounds terrible, but I was like, I'll just, do it for myself so I don't have to keep bothering people. But, fast forward, some friends reached out, can you help me out? And worked with Brandon and Courtney, fantastic people. Had such a good time with them and Elias and Franny. We closed on one today, waterfront property on Hinckley.
Yeah.
Love that. Very proud of them. Shout out to Lafa, a favorite restaurant.
Oh yeah.
But and I know you were a part of that deal as well.
Yes,
so
I was.
yeah, it's a win-win today. It was a great day.
It's a great
day. So I really enjoyed it. I enjoy working with people on that front. I love looking at houses. I always tell people, certainly you will get sick of looking at houses before I ever do. Yeah, I could walk through houses all day long. So a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
It goes back to helping people too.
Yeah.
And you brushed over that with, well, I flipped this house. I learned a lot. I learned I wasn't this. I learned I wasn't that. I learned I wasn't this. But what you also did was flipped it. Did you make money on it? Sure.
Yeah.
But you also helped somebody maybe buy their first house, the purchases of that house, right? I'm gonna tell you a statement. I want you to react to it. The difference between action and inaction. Tell me what you feel about that.
Crucial, because if you're sitting on the sidelines all day, you're never going to get in the game, right? You got to just make a move, get some momentum going, just get your feet wet. Even if I would have lost money on that deal, I would have just felt so much more confident getting back in the game and buying the next one. I feel like the inability to put that first step forward is very challenging for people, myself included. I can't tell you how many times I had said to the realtor that I used at the time, like, should we back out of this? Should we back out of this? There's a hole in the roof. And a guy came over and quoted, he's like, I can fix that in like 20 minutes. And I was like, should we back out of this deal? Like, is there water damage?
Yeah.
Right. And I was so scared to buy the $78,000 house. And you just got to take that jump, right? Get going, get the experience. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have things that pop up. You're going to have things that, unexpected, right? And at the end of the day, it's just a learning opportunity. Take that, move on to the next one, and keep going.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to try it, Mike. The old famous statement that I know we all know of the cost of doing it versus the cost of regret. Someone help me here.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Is that right?
I don't know.
That's right.
I'll tell you this.
Here.
Looking at the housing prices now, I mean, I don't want to say I regret selling that one. I disappointed in myself for pulling the trigger on selling it, but learned that lesson that you do have to pay taxes, right? I probably should have brushed up on that ahead of time, but certainly led me to buying the next one. Then I have a couple here, a couple multifamilies in Utica, one in New York Mills, and so grateful that I pulled the trigger on those. I bought them at a great time, right? Got great prices on those and was able to, really put some value add into those. And now they're, doing very, very well for me. I'll never sell those.
Right.
Those are great properties to have in the portfolio. And I'm glad I took that step to make that happen.
Right.
So,
but again, it goes back to the letter that your parents are opening. They're all learning lessons that brought you to where you are today. And that's the important part of it. Yeah. What's next for us?
Going to keep building the portfolio. Right. I think that's a big step for me. I want to keep I have the nursing home job. I love that. I do enjoy what I do. I want to keep growing in that. Maybe move up the ladder in the nursing home game and maybe move to the hospital setting at some point. But ultimately just continue to build a portfolio.
Tell us what, I think this is something most listeners probably don't know about. What does the day in the life look like for you right now at the nursing home?
It is so hectic. And that's one of the
it's
things I love
about it. It's such a niche thing, right?
Yeah,
and I think people don't think about that unless grandma and grandpa are there and you're going to visit often, or you get to that point where a loved one, and that's the next step for them. But talk to us about like a day in the life.
Sure. And it's very tough for me to answer that question because it's so vastly different every single day. It could be one day you're getting slammed with admissions and 5 people are discharging, 5 people are coming in. You got to make sure the rooms are clean, and you got to make sure, everything's set up for these people that are coming in. And the next day, there's new employee orientation, and you're, doing a speech on customer service. Next day, you have a payroll issue where you're sorting through that, or the financial statements come out, and I'm combing through. Who do I need to talk to about staying under budget? Yeah. All the things that you look at. There's just so much going on, and I love that. I love the chaos. I think that to me is motivating. It's sure. Trying to put out this fire, put out that fire, and stay on top of everything. There's 24/7 call. I think there's always something going on, right? Which to me is exciting. I always like that. It's sometimes it's hard to shut that off, but to me that's part of the game, and it's a lot of fun. I think in a day-to-day, I think really having good systems in place is something that I've really tried to do. From an operational perspective, I think you need to in any business, and I'm sure you have the same as well. You need to have good systems in place. But I also try to find time for the care, the compassion. Again, I'm not a caregiver, but I like to go up on the floors, like to make people laugh. I like to meet with the residents, try to meet everybody, hear their stories. There's some incredible people that I get to meet and talk to every single day, and I think to me that's one of the best, most valuable pieces of the job, right? You get to meet so many incredible people that get to share their story, and you get to work with some of the people that are so compassionate, so helpful to them, and be a part of that, which is fun to me. Yeah. I always tell our staff, I work for you, right? I can't do the clinical care you do. So my role is to best help you, right? I want to put you in a position to be successful, give you all the opportunities to have the tools you need to provide the best care. So what would you tell Ross that's laying on the hardwood floor on the deflated air mattress right now? I would say it's all going to work out. It is all going to work out. You just got to keep grinding. Got to stay after it. I think it's very, very easy to look at a circumstance and say, yeah, this sucks, right? It did suck. It was, very difficult early on. I struggled to understand the business. For the first 6 months I was doing, I had to work in every single department, kind of learn that. I didn't really grasp it. I have HR background. I knew HR. I was very good in HR. I wasn't good at finance. I wasn't good in, reimbursement, things like that. It just didn't click right away. Would have been easy to throw in the towel, right? I think at the end of the day, you need to look at where you want to be, and again, just push forward. Like you're going to figure it out. Even when I first started here, I got my license. I came to Utica. That's part of the story. Is I got my administrator license, and they said you're going to Long Island. I said, okay, perfect, right? I was looking at houses down there, expensive apartments maybe, and I said, actually, we need you to Utica, New York. I'm like, perfect, right? Is that Long Island? Where is that at? They're like Central New York. Perfect. Never been here before, so I came here, and it was my first administrator job. Right, 26, 27 years old, young guy, right? And still didn't have it all down, right? You gotta roll with the punches. You gotta figure it out. You gotta put yourself in a position to, hey, no matter what happens, right? I'm gonna make it work. Much like you, right? Starting the business, no matter what's thrown your way, it's gonna be a challenge. There's going to be curveballs, but I know at the end of the day, I'm not going to stop, right? Trying to reach that goal.
What it comes down to is, again, that healthy chip of what's your why. Right? What, like, during your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we had John Bartholomew on before you, which I know we were joking in the parking lot.
Crushing me, man.
Coming in hot.
I gotta try to compete with that.
We talked a lot. We talked a lot about, like, the goal setting of understanding what the end goal is, whatever that is for you in your life, personal, business, or whatever. But then, like, the steps to get there. And as long as you can stay ahead of that in the sense of, like, understanding what that's going to be, those crazy days, those crazy weeks, crazy months, whatever it's going to be, are going to be fine because you're understanding what you're working towards. And what I love about your story, and is so impressive, is there was opportunities plenty throughout the journey where you could have thrown the towel, right? Sure. I'm homesick. I want to do this. And it would have been just as easy to go back to the hometown.
Absolutely.
I can get a job back there. You probably know people back home that give you a job, whatever. All these steps. I'm going to move to Long Island. Okay, fine. We're going to Utica. Okay, fine. It's so impressive. That's the first thing that I take away. The second thing is the action. Like, people don't talk enough about that regret of inaction versus actually just doing it and just figuring it out along the way. You're never, and we go back to the mentorship thing, you're never going to be at a position where you think you need to be to do the thing. Right.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, even if you flop, at least you tried it, right? You can at least say, I gave it my best. I did this, I did that. It didn't work out. Okay.
Great. What'd you learn from it?
Regroup, right?
Regroup,
take that.
Take it to the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big piece that people miss is, like, at the very end of the day, you're going to take something away from it, right? You're going to get that knowledge of, all right, this is maybe what I need to do next time, or maybe this isn't for me, right? Maybe you're going to learn that this is not the route I should have taken, right? Now I know what I want to do. Okay, perfect. Go do it. Make it happen.
It's all about the experiences. Ross, thank you very much for being here. What a cool story.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
What a cool story. I appreciate you very much. And this was a great conversation. People that want to maybe get in touch with you about the real estate thing, maybe they want to pick your brain about the nursing home stuff, whatever it might be. What's the best way to get in touch with you, connect with you online? What is it?
I mean, I can give you my email address. I'll give you my phone number. We can probably post that in the comments section if that's what you want to do. I tell people, anybody that's interested in learning more about it, the nursing home or just nursing in general, career paths, talk to me. Right, I'm happy to try to help people in that capacity. I think if you want to branch out and learn some of these things, talk to somebody who's done it. Yeah, right. Get that. Get somebody who's got some experience.
It's critical.
There's people out there that want to help.
And if you're watching this and maybe laying on a hardwood floor in an air mattress and it just feels like this is right in front of you, reach out to him.
Call me. Yeah. I promise. I'll get you.
He knows where to
get
you a new air mattress. Yeah. That's right. Everybody, that's another episode of the Make an Impact podcast. Thanks for being here. Until next time, go out there, lead with purpose, and make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. My name's Stephen Turnbull. We'll see you next week. Take care.